Good evening, everybody. It's 9:30 on the East Coast, 6:30 on the West Coast. It must mean it's time for your Calamity Jane live stream. I forgot the whole Monday bit, but that's close. I was close enough. Sorry we're a minute or two late. James was a slacker, I guess. What would you call yourself?
Yeah,
Slacker? Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, a little bit of a slacker today. Lost track of time. Was caught in a time warp of some sort, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
minutes, minutes became hours, hours became minutes, and but I've somehow reconstitute myself while traveling time, and
Excellent.
now here I am.
Excellent. Good. That's good to know. That's good to know. Um, well, how are you on this blisteringly warm, blisteringly hot midsummer day?
Doing well over here. I think again, I'm lucky, I guess, where I live, at least right now. But in LA, where we're at, it's pretty okay, pretty normalish, 75 to 80, and that's tolerable. There's no humidity to make things too balmy. Eric, you know all about this. You've lived out in LA,
I
so I
have lived
know
there, and I'm
you're
envying your temperatures right now.
I know. I'm not trying to brag. I'm just saying that this is the state of my being. So
Oof.
I'm not sweating bullets as much as you probably are over on your internet of the woods.
Oof. Indeed, indeed we are. And because it's Georgia, it's also humid as you can possibly imagine. So, yeah, there you have it. But that
Yeah.
being said, they invented air conditioning for a reason, so I'm going to continue to enjoy air conditioning, and that's all I have to say about that. What are we working
Yeah,
on
it's
today, James?
let me share my screen and we'll get to work today. All right, so I'm kind of in a Calamity Jane mode still from last week. So this week I will be working on this pose where she's holding the gun out to say freeze. So I'm gonna try to do it from, there's two scenes that are using it. So she pulls the gun out, says freeze, and then
Mm-hmm.
we jump over to the next scene and then it zooms out. So we're gonna try to get our bang for the buck by working on this scene here, and then I'll just recycle those assets and then we'll use that for our zoom out here. That's the plan. Let's see where we end up tonight.
All right, all right. Well, I
Yeah.
went I went on
So
an adventure yesterday.
an adventure.
Yeah,
That sounds
accidentally.
okay. And what is this adventure? What happened?
Me and a few friends, one of which famously is Jeff of Mitchell Winchester fame. We went up to the highest point in Georgia called Brasstown
Okay.
Bald, and then from there we went down to a kitschy little town called Helen, Georgia, which is German themed. If any viewers have ever lived or been to Washington and went to Leavenworth, it's the same kind of vibe. But we did river tubing, and we started the river tubing right as this massive storm system blew through. And so we start the float down the river, and the bottom drops out. It's pouring down rain. It was crazy, and at one point we hit this one rapid, and everybody goes flying. My flip flops come off my feet and go drifting off down the river. Like it's mass hysteria. It's chaos. We somehow recover everything, including my flip flops. Like I'm like, well, the flip flops are gone. Nothing I can do about that. And then we float down the river, and one of my friends was like, "Oh my God, there's the flip flops!" I
What?
swear to God. And so I got the flip flop backs. I got my hats back. My friend got her sunglasses back. We recovered all the tubes. Just crazy. It's just crazy times.
And that's a typical session of tubing, is that right?
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
apart from losing all your garbage into the river, but no,
okay.
in the pouring down rain. Actually, no. I guess it was a completely atypical session of
Okay. All
tubing.
right.
So,
I
um,
wasn't sure. I'm not familiar with tubing at all. Like I know that there's my only experience with tubing is playing the game tubing in the
oh,
arcades back in the day.
yes, I remember that.
So
You
that's
paddle
all
this
I
way,
know.
paddle that way, paddle this way, paddle
Yeah.
that way. Yeah.
So that's yeah. So but rain, I mean, I'm assuming Georgia gets a lot of rain, so maybe that's something that happens a lot, or up in
No, this was highly
no.
irregular. We were standing in
Okay.
line to go up to the river, and the guy says, "Are you sure you want to do this? It's probably going to start raining
Oh.
soon." And we're like,
Oh,
"Yeah,
okay. So
sure.
okay.
We're fine. We'll be fine." And then it was, but it was. I mean, I thought it was. I was laughing the whole time. I thought it was. I thought it was infinitely entertaining to go do that. Um, But yeah, we were expecting just sort of a lazy drift down the river to take the edge off of a hot day, and ended up going on an Indiana Jones style adventure down an otherwise
Wow.
calm river. Yeah.
Well, and now were you able to like so when you say all your stuff, like I've seen again, this is based on the video game, maybe some pictures and like that, but can't you just kind of like have your little cooler kind of floating next to you while you're tubing and kind of sip beer and stuff like that? And
You can,
yeah, take
yeah,
yeah,
you can. I don't usually, as a general rule. I just usually just like to float down the river and not do anything, and just kind of
okay.
enjoy the the uh, the trip. But yeah, no, I mean, I was wearing flip flops, and those just completely came off when the the tube capsized, and yeah, it was a wacky adventure. I don't know how else to describe it. Um, it was, the quote from Forrest Gump kept coming to mind about, all the different types of rains, and how sometimes the rain seemed like it was even coming straight up from the water, and like
Yeah.
that's what it felt like. That's how hard it was raining. um
Wow.
and the tubes we were floating on were had bottom, so you weren't like sort of sitting in the river, you were like sitting in a chair almost.
Okay. All right.
And it was raining so hard it filled up completely. So we were like sitting in a pool of water in a river.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was just absolutely bonkers. I've never really experienced anything like that before. It was really fun. I mean, I was having a blast, at least. I can't speak to anybody else, although I think that they had a good time too.
So, okay, so that's not your wait, so that's your first time tubing period living in Georgia, or you've done it
No,
here and there, but
no.
never that
I mean,
harsh of an experience.
I've done it multiple times down here, and I did it once up in the state of Washington.
Okay.
I don't remember which river I think it was the Wenatchee River. It was the one up by Leavenworth. So it was a similar thing. We went up to the Germantown and did a river float up in that German themed town, again, Leavenworth
Okay.
in Washington. But
Nice.
yeah, I mean, they're fun. You don't really do anything special. You just chill and hang with buddies, and just have a lazy day. Usually, that's usually what you do.
Well, I'm
So
just glad you made it back in one piece along as well as your flip-flops. That's all that really
yeah,
matters,
no, I know.
So
I still can't believe that just blew my mind. That delighted me to no end that we managed to secure the flip flops. But yeah, so that was what I did on Sunday. It was a fun one.
for me, I pretty much did family stuff, hung out, went over to see an aunt over just outside of San Diego
Mm-hmm.
and hung out there, did family stuff. Pretty chill weekend on my side. Nothing adventurous like what you went through at all. Like no crazy rain or any obstacles or anything like that. It was just a pretty typical family like Saturday
Mm-hmm.
for us, I guess. So yeah, overall, all good. I did however, I don't know how much you're into spicy stuff. But Amita just waved at me and mentioned, yeah, you kind of mentioned this part, but do you ever try different types of sauces and hot stuff and peppers and all that kind of stuff? I mean, ever
I
do
like
you do
spicy
that yourself?
food. I like spicy food a lot. I don't derive joy from seeing what my spice tolerance is, though, right?
Oh, because
Um,
yeah, we're the opposite. Because I do.
okay, so you're an
Yeah,
absolute masochist, then, is what I'm hearing.
yeah, or yeah, I guess I don't know, but I wanted to see what where my threshold is for pain. And
Mm-hmm.
so speaking, like when we're talking at the very beginning part of the stream, we're talking about time traveling, and I have time traveled. Actually, I was kind of making fun of it, being late, but I have time traveled before, and that's when I was at a Mexican restaurant in Salt Lake and sampled some. I swear they were jalapeno peppers, but they may not have been. But biting into those things, I did time travel. Like I just
Oh God.
the whole world kind of became waves. Almost like it was almost like seeing AI before it was AI was upon us with all that weird kind of
Yeah.
semi-realistic looking kind of stuff. Everything was kind of like, yeah, it was streaks going past me and then just perspiring, all that kind of stuff. So that's where my bar was.
Wow.
But meanwhile, so now fast forward years later to this weekend, and I heard this, so uh my aunt has a garden in the back, and she has these things called Carolina Reapers.
Yeah, I know what those are.
Okay.
Those
So
are very
supposedly
spicy.
those are very, I guess they're supposed to be really spicy.
Those are very spicy. Yeah.
So
Those
yeah,
and ghost peppers and a couple of
yeah.
other
So
ones.
and that's what I thought, because I've had ghost pepper before, like in sandwich form or something like that, where they put it in a sauce and like that. So I've had that before. But I've never had a Carolina Reaper. Well, apparently Carolina Reaper is like gazillion times hotter than a ghost pepper.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and so of course I was like, oh well, challenge accepted. I need to try this
Yeah.
out. Uh, and so I sampled it with some, barbecue vegetables and stuff like that, and took a little piece. Like they were like pulling the gloves out and like making sure you cut it right. You can't get on your hands or anything.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it was intense,
Why did you
but
consume this?
because I was intrigued by the legend that is Carolina Reapers.
Oh, wow.
But I mean, I guess it's climactic because I survived. I'm here. I'm doodling and animating, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely spicy.
Hmm.
I bit into it. Tried it with some cheese first. That was okay. It has a lot of kick, but I can say I survived the Carolina Reaper and lived to tell about it, I guess, or whatever you want to say. I mean, it was fun to try out. They're really cute. But yeah, I was just chopping them up, and then I actually started after a while. I took an onion, dipped it, then I just took my finger and grabbed it and just ate it raw, little
Oh,
pieces of it. Um,
all right. Well,
Nothing. I did
you
not time travel,
you've got a hell
so
of a threshold for
I know
spiciness
I don't know, or maybe I just lucked out on that. I mean, I'm sure karma will get me back later at some point.
when you're on the
But I
toilet
don't know what
tonight.
happened. Yeah, well, I was expecting that this morning too, but no, nothing.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I wish I had a funnier story like my Wii story where, I injured myself somehow.
Yes,
But
that was impressive.
yeah, but no, it was I can say though, you actually know somebody that's tried a Carolina Reaper and lived to tell the tale. I mean, if
I
that's the
was
hottest, you know,
I had no
yeah.
idea. I always recall that episode of The Simpsons where Homer takes it as a personal affront to his ability to eat when someone says a pepper is too spicy, and he
Okay.
attempts to eat it, and it's like, oh, it's too spicy. So he goes and like lines his mouth with wax and then consumes the pepper whole, and then it creates
Yeah.
this entire psychedelic trip that he goes on. And it's some of my
Yeah.
favorite animation in any episode of The Simpsons.
I
And
don't know if I've seen that episode. That's
oh, it's
cool.
look it up. It's hysterical. At one point he like kicks a turtle, and then as he's in it, like the turtle goes off like in off into the distance, and
Mhm.
I don't remember why he comes upon the turtle again, and he has to climb this pyramid, and the pyramid as he approaches it is only like 1 or 2 feet high. But then as he
Mhm.
gets closer, the turtle looks at him, and then the pyramid raises and becomes the size of the pyramids of Giza. And Homer says something along the lines of, "This is because I kicked you, isn't it?" And the turtle just gives this like quiet, judgmental nod, and the animation on that is just it's priceless.
All right, I'll have to look it up.
Yeah,
So during his journey, this is all a journey from eating a spicy
yeah, from
pepper of
eating
some
a
sort.
spicy pepper. Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. I gotta watch it because the animators have probably have had that experience like I did, where I did time travel. So they're probably that's their version of it.
That's what I was thinking of when you said time travel. That was exactly what I was
Yeah,
thinking of when you said time travel.
yeah, yeah. Regardless of that, I do enjoy spicy food. I mean, I come from an Indian household, so we'd had spicy stuff all the time. But I didn't think my I just don't know where my tolerance really is at. I guess I still want to challenge it a little bit
Mm.
and keep trying different stuff. But yeah, like Amitha was like yelling at me. She was worried, and I don't blame her because I'm pretty stupid when it comes to food and doing things like that. So she has plenty of experience with me ruining my life. So I just don't think she wanted to deal with me whining about it the next, in hours later like
Sure,
that. But
sure, sure.
I lucked out. So I don't
I
know. So
mean, She just got to set a boundary. It's like, if you're gonna do this to yourself, I don't care. Leave me alone.
Or like those, plenty of the movie tropes, like if you keep this up, I'm out, like
Yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah, that's
I
right.
can't do this
Exactly.
anymore.
I'm giving you
Yeah,
an ultimatum. It's me or the Carolina Reaper.
yeah, yeah. So
Um,
yeah,
that's so funny. I
but that's
yeah,
that was my that was the extent. That was probably the highlight of my weekend. So yeah,
overcoming, conquering a Carolina Reaper.
I guess
I'm
so.
curious.
I
Okay, so
don't.
what is
I
the
wouldn't say I would
Scoville?
conquer it, but
Scoville. Um, Scoville, not Scoville. Uh,
yeah, Scoville thing. Yeah.
it is. Let's see. Okay, here's the Scoville heat scale.
Okay.
Carolina Reaper is um, it is 2.2 million Scoville.
Okay.
Whereas, just as a comparison, because we were talking about it,
The
oh, I
ghost
don't see
pepper,
it
right?
on here. Yeah, I don't see the ghost pepper on here. Um, okay, but for a reasonable comparison, U.S. grade pepper spray. So Carolina Reaper is 2.2 million. Pepper spray is 5.3 million. So that kind of gives you it's not nearly as hot as pepper spray.
Okay.
Um, I don't see the ghost pepper on this list. Maybe this one's got a little bit more comprehensive. So the Carolina Reaper is up there. I mean, in every list that I'm looking at, it is in the
Mm-hmm.
top. Oh, it's way higher than the ghost pepper. So this list that I'm
Yeah.
looking at, this list goes from 1.4 million to 2.2 million, and the ghost pepper is only 885,000 to 1 million. So you doubled what a ghost pepper is supposed to be, and most people can't handle ghost peppers. So, all right, good
And
job, good
yeah,
job.
thanks. I don't know. Like I said, I didn't learn my lesson, and I will learn it soon.
Yeah,
Next time I'm out and trying different stuff. I even took like they even had a Carolina Reaper whiskey shot.
really.
Um, yeah, it was really tasty, spicy but tasty.
I would assume it is. Yeah, that actually sounds really good.
Yeah, it was
Um,
nice. I wish I
so
had the name of it.
so your aunt was growing Carolina Reapers?
Yeah, yeah, in
Why
the
why
backyard.
why was she? Just
Oh, actually, it was her son that was actually doing it. She kind of just
okay.
lets him run wild with growing all
Okay,
kinds of
and he was
stuff
just
up
having
there.
fun seeing what he could get going.
Oh, he's all into cooking and stuff
Mm-hmm.
and barbecuing stuff like that. So Reapers are
Oh.
one. He had jalapenos back there, Reapers, and he makes
Mm-hmm.
his own
Mm-hmm.
hot sauce and stuff with it. Yeah. But yeah, it was fun. It was cool to try. The flavor of a Carolina Reaper is actually like there's some peppers that are just mean.
Mm-hmm.
I like to say, and they're just like jerks.
Mm-hmm.
As far
Mm-hmm.
as they're just hot, and that's their whole point in life is just to be hot. No, Carolina Reaper actually has. I don't have enough of a I don't have enough descriptors to say exactly what it's like, but Carolina Reaper is actually kind of flavorful. I actually
Hmm.
like the taste of it.
That's
So
interesting. Yeah, I
yeah,
I find after a certain point the spiciness basically just
yeah,
squashes any
yeah. It
flavor,
ruins
right?
everything. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I did
So, I mean, I've
I
had spicy stuff where it does do that. It just ruins the taste, and you're just there suffering, and that's like that's
mm-hmm.
no point. That's not fun at all. So, sorry, yeah, I spoke
Oh
over you.
no.
You were saying
Oh
something?
no, it's good. I did a like a cook day where me and a bunch of friends get together and they cook meals and we sit and just chat. And they were doing a we were doing oh, I don't even remember what we were making this time, but they had this Szechuan spice, which
Oh,
rather
that
than
sounds good.
makes your mouth really hot, it numbs everything.
Mm,
Which is I was an odd sensation. I didn't like it actually. It was
okay,
this tingly numbing sensation that
okay,
it wasn't spicy in the traditional sense, but I don't know how else to describe the sensation. As you know,
huh,
I don't know any other word to describe it. Spicy is the closest word I have in my
yeah,
vocabulary, but it
yeah,
was unlike any other sensation I've ever had eating food. Um, and I didn't like it at all, right? I didn't like the way my mouth felt when I consumed it. It changed the flavor of everything as I consumed it too. It was very, very, very odd.
So wait, this is a you said this is a Szechuan sauce?
The spice,
They,
an actual
spice. Okay.
spice
Oh,
that they
okay.
would like mix into the sauces and stuff at the
Okay. All right.
yeah. And it
Huh.
was not what I was looking for.
Well, that's good to know. Maybe I mean, but it wasn't. But okay, so it was numbing, but it didn't make you sweat profusely and like need to go run and get a
Mm-mm.
glass of water, nothing like that.
No,
Okay.
no sensation like that. It was purely a numbing sensation, and I was not a fan. Not a
Hmm.
fan. Yeah.
Hmm.
So don't know that I'll do anything like that ever again. But nonetheless, I mean, it's sort of crazy all the different things that
Yeah.
you can eat and survive somehow. It just sort of blows my mind sometimes. I saw some
Yeah.
funny meme where it was this like I'll mangle it, but it was pretty clever where it was this like um plant makes itself spicy or garlicky or whatever to defend against predators. Humans response, "Ooh, I want to eat that."
Yeah. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much me. Yeah, exactly. I totally get that. That's hilarious.
So, um, but anyway, I
So
yeah, go
so I
ahead.
was gonna say, speaking of not liking something,
Oh,
I mean I did want to talk about this too.
yeah.
Because it's perplexing to me because okay, we do this on our stream a lot where we do kind of double speak and we won't even listen to our own advice.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Mm-hmm.
a classic
Famously.
scenario where this is a classic scenario for Eric and not following his advice or sticking to his script of like what he wants to do when it comes what he wants to play for video games. And there
Yes.
were so many like I've read a novel in text form with
Yes.
how much and
Yes.
this game is one that generated the most text on a single video game that during our years of knowing each other I've never seen anything like this where you have such high expectations for the brand and yet it's terrible for you and yet you keep going right back to the well. It's like me searching for spicy peppers to just suffer with, but not complain about. But for you, this is kind of your spicy pepper in a way because you're going right back to the well and bludgeoning yourself with it because you bring up really good points as to why not to play this game. What game is this?
That's Monster Hunter World, of course.
Yeah, yes. So,
I yeah, so at the announcement of Monster Hunter Wilds, um the newest one, I got me in the mood to play Monster Hunter, and I didn't really have any reason to go back to Rise because I there's no
yeah.
blood to squeeze from that rock at this point. And I was like, well, I've never, I never really, I didn't even unlock Iceborne in the Monster Hunter World sort of series. And so I thought, well, I'll go back and reevaluate it. And I've got my fancy, fun toy Monster Hunter, or rather, the Steam Deck. So I
Mhm.
downloaded Monster Hunter World onto my Steam Deck and started playing it from scratch. I previously had it on the PS4, and I really don't like the PlayStation 4 controller. So having it on my Steam Deck and on my PC, I can use my fancy Elite 2 controller, which I really do like, or I can actually lay in bed and play Monster Hunter, which is also something I like. So I thought, oh, this is perfect. And it was on sale. The whole package plus some DLC
Mhm.
was on sale for $25. I'm like, okay, this is perfect timing. And I picked it up and I just they're doing a lot in the game and most of it I'm not a huge fan of. Um and yeah, it's just I powered through they want you to get to Iceborne now, so they give you this overpowered armor and weapon that basically can carry you all the way through low rank and high rank. In fact, I got through the critical path missions um, of Vanilla Monster Hunter World in under 25 hours, right?
Mhm.
Because it's so overpowered. So if you know anything about what you're doing in Monster Hunter, you can use this armor set and weapon to just whoop, like burn through the main game. The problem is unlike other Monster Hunters where a vast majority of the core features are on the critical path, there are a ton of very important features that are unlocked outside of the critical path, and the game makes no attempt to tell you about this. And so I get to Monster Hunter World Iceborne, and the first monster I fight just absolutely wrecks me. And mercifully, it's in a mode that you don't have lives. You can just keep attempting it until he dies, until the monster dies.
Hmm.
So I did that, and then I checked the armor sets, and the base armor set for the lowest ranked um, master rank armor was 100 points higher than my fully upgraded high rank armor. And I'm like, okay, I'm missing something. So I started doing some research, started going to some of my favorite, Monster Hunter streamers, and there was all of this stuff that I did not see at all in Vanilla Monster Hunter World because it is so far off the critical path. Well, it's not so far off the critical path, but it's just off the critical path that unless you are just grinding out every single piece of content in Monster Hunter World, you're going to completely miss it. Which I guess when the original game came out, sure, you're probably going to do that because you want to consume as much of the content as possible. But it as a general design philosophy, for me, it was awful. So much of there's so many features that you get, and the only way you can get them is by doing these extra modes that are outside of the quest system that the rest of the game is based around. And I had to go back and do all of these different side quests that I didn't even know existed. And so, when I sent you that long text message, I was particularly frustrated because I had been playing the game for 2.5 hours, and I hadn't hunted a single monster because I was just backfilling all of these like minor side quests that unlocked new mantles and unlocked new abilities for your feline. And you unlock, and it's I can't believe this is not on the critical path. You unlock the ability to ride monsters, and they just automatically walk from footprint to footprint, so you don't have to sit there and root around in the environment looking for it. Because one of my this is sort of a rambly conversation, but one of my least favorite features of Monster Hunter World, and it is one of the core features of Monster Hunter World, is the Scout Fly system, whereby
Okay.
these little green particle effects float around and highlight important things in the environment and also guide you on the on the path, looking for the monster that you're supposed to be hunting. But there are so many things wrong with this system, it would take an entire stream in and of itself for me to break down all the ways that this is a failed game design system.
I
Not
mean,
least of which,
you definitely did that in text
oh
form. I
yeah,
mean,
no,
like you went into
it was a very,
you went
very long series of text messages. I mean, I think for me, the thing that bothers me the most about the Scout Flies is that when there are enemies around, they retreat and the entire system deactivates until the threat is gone. But the game is really bad at determining whether the threat is gone. So there are
oh
times where the Scout Flies
jeez.
just don't show up anywhere. And there's nothing you can do. You can't force them to turn back on. The game decides when to turn it back on. And
Wow.
this is the only way to chase down these monsters because the maps that you hunt in are so convoluted and so complex that it is really, really hard to get your bearings. Um, there is one map called the Coral Highlands, and a couple of monsters retreat to the highest part of the map, and when they do that, that's a 5 minute climb to the top of that map, right?
Oh
It is
jeez.
awful in my opinion. I mean, just I mean, the environments when you walk around them, very, very pretty, very pretty. Not gonna, can't besmirch the graphics design. The worst maps for gameplay in all of the Monster Hunter series, in my opinion. Total form over function kind of issue for me. Um, and so so the scout flies are this very very critical piece of the puzzle. Also, again, to preserve the verisimilitude of the world, there's no just native highlighting around your interactable objects for the most part, unless you are just standing right on top of them. The
Hmm.
system functions, the scout flies go and hover around them to indicate, oh, here's something pretty, here's something to pick up, here's something to pick up, right? Well, when you're in a threat mode, they don't show up. And so it's very, very hard to see all of the things that you need to pick up, like the monster tracks, which level up your research on the monsters, or the bugs that you need to craft a potion or something like that. And it's absolutely insane to me how overloaded this one system is and how easy it is for it to be turned off, because it's not like it turns off only in the presence of the large monsters that you're hunting. All these little monsters that can't even do any real damage to you, if they aggro you, then the scout flies turn off. Right? It's just there's no subtlety. There's no anyway. Um, but at the end of the day, though, it,
Here, here's the thing. At the end of the
right
day,
at the end of the day, when you strip out all this garbage, all this stuff that frustrates me every time I go out on a hunt, and you just bust it down to brass tacks. The monster design is phenomenal. The
mhm,
combat design is phenomenal. I mean, it's just so much fun to hunt these creatures, even if the environment that I'm hunting them in is frustrating. Um, the the design of your armor, the design of the weapons is cool. That core loop of killing a monster just barely to get a piece of its body, so you can craft that more powerful armor piece that makes it so that you can take on more monsters competently. That
mhm.
core loop is still alive and well. It's just buried underneath this just mound of garbage that you kind of have to look beyond to get to. Um, so I still do it because you know it's Monster Hunter, and I am a charter member of the cult. So it is there is a built-in hypocrisy where I will sit and complain about every design feature that that game has implemented, and I already know that after we get done with this, I'm gonna turn on my Steam Deck and probably do a couple of hunts before I go to bed tonight. So
Wow,
yeah,
wow. I mean, so I have Monster Hunter World on my PS4. I mean, you and I have talked about it. You could there's a lot of times where we'll talk about games and you'll influence me to go and try a game out. Monster Hunter's sitting on my shelf to play, but it's a stack of other games. But I remember playing it for like an hour, and I just thought, okay, this seems like a really long epic kind of game, and I'll need more time to play it. And I went and moved on to other stuff. But the intention was to always go back to it, and then maybe catch up with you and play Iceborne with your account. Although it sounds like I don't even know if it doesn't sound like there's crossplay anymore. So
there was
I'm
never
not
a
even
crossplay on Monster
sure.
Hunter World, unfortunately. In fact, the
Yeah,
Monster Hunter Wilds will be the first time that Monster
yeah.
Hunter supports crossplay. So
Yeah, but I was intrigued by it. But once Monster Hunter Rise came out, that game, I don't know what it was, but the game loop was just pretty simple to catch on. I mean, there still is a learning curve to get past the first few hours and kind of get used to the rhythm of it. Um, but what a great game! But everything you were texting me about with Monster Hunter World, this it was like that to me. It was like, well, that doesn't sound like Monster Hunter Rise at all. Wait, that doesn't sound
mm,
like Rise at all. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna go back and play Monster Hunter World now at all. I mean, just as much as you convince, you kind of talked me into getting into Monster Hunter, you're talking me out of getting out of a Monster Hunter game just as much, just based on your text. I mean, I don't doesn't sound fun. Like it's not about the environment to me when I played Rise. It's about finding the monster and fighting it, and then
mm,
hearing the music ramp up, and then that's all I want to do. I don't care about the plants. I don't care about these bugs, and I don't want to search for them. I don't want to have to use a magnifying glass to find items. And it sounds like a chore, Monster Hunter World versus Rise. And then here's the
Yeah,
other concern too, is now the new one coming out, they're saying is based off of Monster Hunter World. And that makes me kind of worried too, as a fan, a new fan. I'm not a longtime member, but as a Rise fan, I'm a little concerned. So yeah.
which is fair. Yeah, I agree after my deep dive into Monster Hunter World, and I've only just scratched the surface of Iceborne, so um,
Mhm.
I'm still getting into it. Um, yeah, and given that while it seems like it is a direct sequel to World, there are apprehensions that I have about it now that I didn't have before, right?
Mhm.
Um, the one thing I will say is that Monster Hunter World informed Monster Hunter Rise significantly, both in good ideas that were implemented in World that they carried over into Monster Hunter Rise, and in my opinions, lessons they learned from some of their design choices in Monster Hunter World that they didn't replicate for the betterment of Monster Hunter Rise, right?
Mhm.
So, this is I mean these guys they don't rest on their laurels, right? They want to make the best experience possible. And so my hope is that they'll do a similar thing and take good lessons from both Monster Hunter World and Monster Hunter Rise and integrate it um, into Monster Hunter Wilds in an interesting and entertaining way. You know, the I mean, I remember reading an interview a very long time ago now about the sort of the design philosophy of Monster Hunter World, and this was the first Monster Hunter game that ever had like truly open maps, right? Up to this point, the maps were these sort of island arenas that you walked between, and
Mhm.
it wasn't you couldn't seamlessly go from one part of the map, the southernmost part of the map to the northernmost part of the map. Each region there was like one or two exits. You walk to the exit, it would load in the next arena,
Okay.
and you would do that up to the northernmost part, right? And so what like creating a seamless world, creating a believable, seamless, living world was one of the design philosophies of Monster Hunter World, and I mean it shows, right? Every aspect of that game is trying to be internally consistent and internally logical to the experience that they're trying to replicate. But I think for me, it was to the detriment of the moment to moment gameplay, right?
Mhm.
Um, and because it was such a transitionary game, not only from the standpoint of we want to reinvent the wheel, so to speak, graphically, um, and we want to try something really new with it, but there was still a lot of vestigial features from the older iterations of Monster Hunter that made sense for those games, but got carried over into Monster Hunter World, and it was just like you didn't need to do this, right? And so what used to be an interesting mechanic just became a frustration. Classic example here in old school Monster Hunter, in low rank missions, you always started at the main base, always,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
And you would from the main base you would go out and do your hunt. Starting in high rank, you couldn't guarantee where you started from. The game would just drop you into a random location in the map. And if you needed to go and rest or if you needed to do anything at the base, you had to trek your way back to the base. There was no fast travel in old school Monster
Wow.
Hunter, right? Right. But the maps were smaller. They were very straightforward to walk through. And so this mechanic wasn't completely frustrating. Additionally, the things that you could do at the base weren't as robust, so there was less of a need to go all the way back there, right?
Mhm.
You had to spend a lot more prep time in the gathering hub before you went into the mission in old school Monster Hunter. so it wasn't as vital to go there. Well, they changed a lot of that in Monster Hunter World. You can reset your items, you can change your weapons, you can eat at a makeshift canteen, and all of those are that. All of that was great. That's all great idea, all implemented new for Monster Hunter World. But then for some reason they kept the random location spawning in high rank, um, where you would just be dropped at a random location in the map, right? But here's the thing: they also added fast travel. So why implement this at all, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you'll go into a mission, you'll spawn at a random location, you'll go, well, that's inconvenient. You open up your map and you just fast travel to where you want to go anyway. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
why did
Mm-hmm.
you even bother implementing this, right? And I think that they realized that after Monster Hunter World, which is why in Monster Hunter Rise, no matter how high the difficulty is, you always start at the base, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's weird things like that, these weird vestigial design features that may have made sense in older iterations of Monster Hunter that didn't make sense in Monster Hunter World, given what their design focus was. But because it was a legacy feature, they kept it in, right? But then there were like other legacy features that they got rid of, so you didn't have to you don't have to bring pickaxes, or bug nets with you starting in Monster Hunter World. You had to do that in previous iterations of Monster Hunter, and it was a a better design feature, right? It was a quality of life feature that was much needed, solve some of the idiosyncrasies. They completely redesigned the armor system for Monster Hunter World, which I still maintain that I preferred the old style of armor system, even to Rise, right? The armor system that they implemented for World, they carried over to Monster Hunter Rise. But whatever, it's on a hill I'm going to die on. So they did all of these changes, but then certain legacy things they kept, and it was just sort of why did they do that? Um, and so anyway, it's a wildly inconsistent game. Um, as I said, when you can strip away all of the weirdness and all the design features that I don't particularly care for, it's still that great Monster Hunter chewy goodness that you're looking for. But
Mm-hmm.
it's just there's a lot, you have to get through before you get to that part of Monster Hunter that I find so compelling, right?
Yeah, compared to, I mean, again, I'm just basing off of what you're telling me and then what I played with Rise. And with Rise, what's great is you just get right in and you're pretty much hunting a monster and on
Mm-hmm.
the trail within 5-10 minutes max.
Yeah.
And you're going right into the action. And so this game, World sounds like kind of a slog. I don't know
It
if I'm gonna fire it up.
it is it can be a bit of a slog. I got into one hunt where, and this was before I even knew to unlock the little monster, the rider, the monsters that you could ride on, right? That automatically
Mhm.
take you to different footprints. Um, and so I was still trying to manually find the footprints to get enough footprints so the scout flies would then finally track the monster. And
Mhm.
so I was wandering around aimlessly on the map for something like 10 minutes before I finally found enough of the footprints that the scout flies would start leading me to the monster. But then I guess I just got unlucky. I don't know. You know, the I believe that the game, when it spawns a monster, it gives it different traits or different proclivities. So some monsters like to run a lot, some monsters like to move a lot, some
Yeah.
monsters like to
Mhm.
use a particular move over and over again. It creates a little bit of variety, right? And so that not every hunt is exactly the same. Well, in this instance, it was working against me because the monster that I was hunting was one of the ones who just like to move constantly.
Oh,
And
jeez.
I was on the Coral Highlands map where it can take as much as 5 minutes to go from just to climb the tallest peak
Yeah.
And so I was moving around, and every time I'd climb up something, the scout flies would turn around and go to another location because the monster had moved again already. And so I had already spent, 5 to 10 minutes getting enough tracks just so the scout flies would track the damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now that the scout flies were tracking it, they just kept changing directions because the monster kept moving.
Oh,
And so I
jeez.
must have double, triple, quadrupled back between these 2 or 3 points for another 10 minutes before, because it took so long to get between these locations that the monster was moving again before I could physically just maneuver to there, you know?
That
And
sounds that sounds nightmarish.
it
Like,
it was literally the worst case scenario. It took me a half hour just to get to the monster. Um, but because I was using this really, overly powered up armor and weapons, which Capcom intentionally distributes for free now to fast forward you if you want to fast track you to get to Iceborne. When I did finally find the monster after 30 minutes, I killed it in 5, right? Um, and it was just like it was. I turned the game off. It's like I need a break from you, game. After that,
yeah, I would imagine so because that doesn't that doesn't sound fun at all. But you know, yeah, this is where is it the religion of the game and players love it, and they keep playing it. Like you're a great example of a Monster Hunter club member.
I think that there is probably that for some players, but other players. I mean, it never fails to impress me the kind of self-imposed suffering that some video game players like to put themselves through. And it is one man's frustration is another man's bliss, I guess. And there's a great debate on the usual nonsense sites like Reddit where fans are constantly getting into arguments about what's the better game, Monster Hunter World and Monster Hunter Rise. And I guess I have an opinion about that. For me, it's clearly Rise, but not enough to get
mhm,
into an argument with somebody about it.
sure, sure.
But there are people that will, I mean, they will like fight you tooth and nail to say that Monster Hunter Rise is the best of the Monster Hunters, and I fundamentally disagree with that assessment. But teach their own, I guess. Um, and that's the other thing about the scout or the monster tracking implementation is like in Monster Hunter Rise. Now, in old school Monster Hunter, you had none of this. Like, if you wanted to know what types of um, parts a monster dropped, you either had to discover it for yourself or get on a wiki online, right?
Hmm.
Starting in Monster Hunter World, they started exposing some of that stuff, but they didn't give it to you right away. You have to
Hmm.
research the monster. That's one of the reasons. That's another one of the reasons why you have to collect tracks and rut marks and scratches and things of that nature. Because collecting those things levels up your research, and as you level up the research per monster, it unlocks more information about that monster. But there's like 50, 60 monsters in the game, right?
Yeah.
And each of those monsters has like 10 different level ups. And you have to get through all of those level ups to unlock all the features of the whole Scoutfly system. But the problem is you can't you can only level up each monster so much per mission, and only 3 monsters spawn per mission, right? And so it turns this very core, very useful feature into an absolute grind, an absolute
Ugh.
unfun grind to the
Yeah.
point that I don't even waste my time on it. Um, and I think it's a lesson that they figured out in Monster Hunter Rise, because in Monster Hunter Rise, you always just know where the monsters are, right?
Yep. Hmm. Hmm.
And all you need to do to know what parts a monster drops is get that part once. That's it.
Yeah.
And then you can look at it. Elegant, simple, 100% functionality. You never have to look on an external FAQ or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
all right
Hmm.
there in the game. It's all very accessible, very useful, right? Um, the way they gated the monster research and world behind this obnoxious, grindy research system is maybe. I mean, again, it all ties back to the Scoutfly feature that is absolutely core to the experience, and it's just unbelievably frustrating. Um, and that and that says nothing. And that I haven't even gotten to really a discussion of the mantle system or the slinger, both of which are neither good nor bad, but they're so unnecessary to the final game as to be completely useless. I forget
Yeah.
that they're even there, right? They're so you
Yeah.
don't need them to be successful at the game, not even close, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
I mean, for instance, the mantles are these things that you wear that give you different attributes, like thunder
Hmm.
resist or monsters drop sellable items, or there's any number of these. But unlocking most of them are again off the critical path. Um, they burn through very very quickly, so it's not like you can put it on and actually have an advantage for any amount of time. I mean, like the thunderproof mantle, it breaks after about 1 or 2 minutes. And in a hard hunt will go on for like 30 minutes or so,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So it's not really functionally that useful. And then whether you take it off after wearing it for 10 seconds or you take it off after it completely burns itself out and has to recharge, it has the same recharge length. And that recharge length is in some instances almost 10 minutes, right?
So.
And
Mm.
so it's functionally useless. Like the buff that it provides you is so minimal as to be not worth remembering that you even have one of these things, right? And so like the classic example of how this feature fails, I will use the bandit mantle because it causes the monsters to drop sellable parts,
Hmm.
so it's a good way to make money. But the number of times of like, oh shoot, I have the bandit mantle, I put it on, hit the monster a couple of times, it runs away. Now it's sort of like, well, great. Now I'm burning through it right now,
Hmm.
but I can't hit the monster because it's running and I got to chase it.
Yeah.
But if I
Yeah.
take the mantle off, then I have to sit through the full 5 minute recharge, even though I've only had it on for 30 seconds, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just like, how did, I've got to believe that some tester was like, this is a bad idea. Don't do this. And, the classic, the classic scenario where the tester puts in a, a suggestion bug saying this is a bad idea, you
Yeah.
shouldn't do this, and some producer closes it as by design and doesn't even think about it beyond there. I mean, just in my
Yeah.
opinion, it's a
Yeah.
classic example of that. Um, and yeah, and so it's all just a part of this chaff that weighs down the game that you have to chew through before you get to the parts of the game that are like, oh right, this is Monster Hunter. This is why I like Monster Hunter.
You get just enough reminders playing the game that, all right, I'll keep slogging through it.
Yeah, that's basically what
That's
it
what it
boils
sounds
down
like.
to. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. We didn't even get a chance to. I mean, we're kind of at this point. I'm pretty much wrapped up with doodling, but there's other stuff I was going to talk to you about, which was the Witcher stuff. Sounded intriguing to me, like how you can unlock that in the game too. But I mean, maybe we can say that for
I
another
would
time because I don't know if you want
can't speak to it because it is no longer in the game. So well, I guess we'll just wrap off on yet another frustration about this game.
to.
They have all of these special investigations, which I guess are gated around
Yeah.
a cycle of events that the game goes
Hmm.
through over a period of time. And I didn't understand this. And so I had all these special investigations I could do. Like there was a Final Fantasy one, there was this Witcher one, there was a Devil Joe subquest. I'm like, cool, I've got to catch up on all this other stuff because I missed it on
Uh,
my original playthrough. And I finally finished catching up on unlocking the other features. I'm like, okay, cool. Now I'll do these before I move on to master rank. I'll do the last of these high rank special investigations, and that'll close out my Monster Hunter World vanilla experience. I went to start doing them today. They're all gone, every single one of them. I had started all of them. I had started the
oh,
conversations, gotten the initial cutscenes, like I'd
Oh
even
my
actually started
gosh.
playing a little bit of the Geralt storyline. They're
Yeah.
all gone, all disabled because the event that they were tied to ended, and now I have to wait an arbitrary amount of time for the event to restart for content that is
Wow.
installed on my computer but is gated
Mm,
behind a server somewhere,
yeah.
you know, for
Yeah,
reasons that
that's
I
bad.
who knows, right? Like, another thing that they did not bring back from Monster Hunter Rise. First time they'd ever done any sort of event thing, a time locked event thing, and I hope it was the last time they ever did it because it is the stupidest. It's free content that they gate behind a time lock. It's like, why? Why? Um, so yeah, I wish I could speak to that. But I have almost no experience of it because I started it. I was like, this seems fun. I'm gonna do all the other stuff first. I'll come back to this,
Oh
and now
man.
I can't play it.
Well, I guess we won't be talking about that next week then. I guess
Yeah.
that's that.
So anyway, there you go.
Uh,
You know me. I am loath to speak negatively about our Lord and Savior Rathalos, but in
oof,
this
oof, oof,
instance,
oof.
Monster Hunter World misses on all, and for me at least, it misses in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
anyway,
look, there's plenty of other games for me to play. I don't know if I'll be firing it up anytime soon as a
sure,
result of
sure.
your text rant and the stream tonight. But there's plenty of other games that are good that we'll talk about in future streams for sure. So
Indeed,
yeah.
indeed. All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up there. So it's a bit of a downer note. We've had a couple of upper ones, talking about
Well,
my
I
new
mean
toys and stuff. But
yeah, I mean, well, as far as a happier note, I mean, I got quite a ways with the drawings tonight. So
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
let's
it's
let's
looking
play
really
through it real
good.
quick.
Yeah, let's see it.
So this is still not finished yet, but close enough to where, at least I feel pretty good. Got stuff down, but rough animation. So gets her gun, pulls it out, and zooms out. So we got a lot of poses done tonight. Um, maybe next week I'll fill in the blanks here with the Warhog running into scene, and this
Mm-hmm.
whole chunk of scenes will be, for the most part, at least rough animation done. I mean, there's a few little subtle things I would like to do with it. For example, some size things that are happening, like with the face on her sweatshirt, and then how it
Mm-hmm.
shrinks to smaller. I'll have to just kind of do some consistency passes on that. But I
Mm-hmm.
usually save that for final animation passes anyway when waiting really, really close to going live. But yeah, rough animation wise, we're at a pretty good spot.
Cool.
Pretty happy with
Well,
that.
that is
So we
good. All
do,
right, good. We did end
yeah.
on a
So
positive note.
yeah, so we do have a
Excellent.
happy note on that.
Excellent. All right. Well, we'll call it there. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I mean, we're never more than 3 degrees away from Monster Hunter, so if you watched it to the end, thank you again for indulging us as we geek out on this very old game franchise that I'm obsessed with. But otherwise, you can if you want to hear more of this nonsense, head on over to calamityjane.rocks. That'll take you to our Patreon site. Consider joining us to help us make this cartoon a reality. You don't have to watch the stream. You can donate, get the extra goodies, and never watch the stream. I'm fine with that. But yeah, please consider subscribing and helping us make this cartoon a reality. You can also find us on Facebook and YouTube, which presumably you have because you're watching the stream, and we're also on Instagram at Calamity Jane Salamander. We will be back next week at the same Calamity time, same Calamity channel. Good night, James. Stay safe out there, everybody.
Good night.